544 KTSM 915-544-5876 or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages that we're on these days, including Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. A lot of stuff to talk about here today. Coming up in the next segment, having another interview with Susan Goodell, CEO of the El Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank, with some updates on that whole situation, which is very impacting in our area with how the food bank is doing, the distribution and the need, plus a partnership that we will be getting further into going on with iHeartRadio El Paso, and particularly this show here. But in the meantime, a bunch of stuff going on affecting us right here in the borderland. A couple of things I want to mention here is we're getting a little bit later of a start than usual. It looks like some things ran wrong in previous programming here, but a couple of things that I've been watching on here that I want to mention here is, of course, we have the new superintendent for the El Paso Independent School District coming in now, Saavedra, I believe I'm saying that right here. So that's one big change that is coming, that has been confirmed after that whole 21-day waiting period, basically, by law. I'm sure it's not actually called that, but essentially that's what it is. Another one here that has been going a little bit under the radar for me anyway has been the fact that convenience stores in El Paso are going to have to beef up security under a new ordinance. Report from our partners over there at KFOX 14 and CBS 4, going to cause some interesting situations, primarily focused on the beer runs. And this is not when you go out and grab a case of beer to head to a party or something. Well, it's similar to that, but it's more specifically when someone grabs the case and then runs out the door without paying on it, hence the beer and the running part of the name here. But the police and city council agreeing that this has been a bit of an issue, and that beer run thefts totaling not quite 6,000 over the last few years. I did see a bit of like a live stream kind of conversation that El Paso Police Department put out a couple of weeks ago on the subject, saying that it takes a lot of time, and that the amount of time and effort and funds that actually go into the prosecution of these individual cases way outstrips the actual absolute value of it. So a little bit interesting that the solution is now coming down to that convenience stores, specifically that sell beer, so not necessarily like your liquor stores or your non-also gas retailers kind of situation, that they'll need to have 5 surveillance cameras, an alarm system, a drop safe, height markers, and security signs. So that is a lot of extra going to be required there, which is interesting. But we're going to go and take that break early here since we got pushed back into it a little bit. So we'll be back after this break with more Talk El Paso, talking about some new partnerships and situations definitely impacting here in town. So stay tuned for more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. We'll get into more of the issues and more of the factors affecting us here. So comments on the social pages, calls a little bit later. Stay tuned. Back in a minute here. Don't go anywhere. Getting ready for a show like this or whatever you're doing in your day, what I recommend is going with Clever Tea. KLEVRTEA is in the stuff that you drink. Got my bottle of it right here with me. Pretty constant companion on the show ever since I first found out about it. And then we had our partnership because I wanted this, because it is good stuff. It is a good locally produced tea blend. Their Oolong Wise is the OG, the one that I drink most often. And it comes a delicious blend of oolong tea, coconut, pineapple, hibiscus, eucalyptus, hawthorn berry, and cinnamon. Plus, you can get it pre-made in the bottles like I do with just the right amount of monk fruit. But they're also out in the community having a variety of events. You can also go to their storefront and try it for yourself at 230 North Copia. But whatever you do, think about shopping local, shopping small, shopping our neighbors this holiday season. So you can place your own order online at clevertea.com. That's KLEVRTEA.com. And enter the code radio15 at checkout and get 15% off your next order at clevertea.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690. Checking El Paso traffic, got a crash that's blocking 2 left lanes, I-10 westbound at Trowbridge. Might be best to avoid the I-10 at Trowbridge right now. Exit Hawkins to avoid that long backup. Got an injury accident, Yarborough on-ramp to Border Highway. That is in the clearing stages. Fires on the scene there. I-10 eastbound at East Lake. Road construction's got the shoulder closed till 5. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Hey parents, good news! Kids ages 5 to 11 are eligible for a COVID vaccine. Your future CEOs, artists, innovators, and more are eligible for a vaccine that can help protect their future. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Now may be the perfect time to buy a home financed by Loan Depot. Loan Depot has over 300 loan products to help you make home ownership a reality. Interest rates are near historic lows. Rates will not stay low forever. So call 866-888-LOAN so one of our thousands of loan officers can help you find the right loan. Call 866-888-LOAN or visit loandepot.com. Loan Depot. Rates are subject to change. Equal housing opportunity lender. NMLS number 174457. Licensed in all 50 states.
Hey parents, here's some good news for America's future. Kids ages 5 to 11 are now eligible for a COVID vaccine. That means all those future CEOs and artists, world-class chefs and sports stars, the engineers and the innovators are eligible for a vaccine that can help protect their future. And it's specifically formulated just for them. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
I love the holidays, but I don't love being roommates with my siblings again. That's why I skip all the screaming matches and stay at Red Roof, so I can truly celebrate and relax in my own comfortable, clean, affordable room. Pets stay free at Red Roof, so I can bring Fido and decompress after a long day of small talk with the family without breaking the bank. And this season, you can get up to 20% off. Book your own space at redroof.com.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at kcsmradio.com. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
It's often said that health is wealth, so something you can do to essentially increase your own bottom line is by tuning into the Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao, airing every Saturday at noon right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, because he goes into the factors that you need to know about to stay informed and be informed and active and advocating for yourself kind of consumer when it comes to medical services. We all have to do it at some point, so might as well do it from a position of knowing what's going on, knowing the latest developments, how to navigate our complex medical system, and common treatments for medical problems. You can even submit your own questions ahead of future shows by emailing Rao at medicalhackers.com. That's his last name, RAO at medicalhackers.com. This week, we'll be talking about hyperbaric chambers and the benefits that they can offer. So again, tune in this Saturday at noon, right after the El Paso History Radio Show, to the Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao, right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
From the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Welcome back here to Talk El Paso, airing on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages that we're on these days, including Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. One of the better ways to interact throughout the course of the show as we take those comments throughout. But in the meantime, we do have something that we've been talking a decent bit about. Y'all have been bringing it up, frankly, a fair amount, is charitable efforts, particularly during this season. It is the season to give back. So excited to talk about a thing that I've been focused on for a while now, and that we're actually launching a partnership with. So joining me now to talk about that, we are joined now by Susan Goodell, the CEO of the Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Andrew. It's great to be here.
Absolutely, because it's been a minute since we checked in here, and just pound for pound, dollar for dollar, the El Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank, in my personal opinion, is one of the more consequential organizations in our region because of the continuing need, the impact that you all have, and the very, very basic need that is addressed to this, and that is hunger in our region, something that you all have been doing for years now. This is not a new effort, but it has been ramped up well past 11 over these past couple of years.
Yes, it's been a particularly challenging time during COVID where the need went up substantially. Pre-COVID, we had 1 in 5 people in this community living in poverty. And then, of course, with COVID coming along and so much job loss, illness, and other challenges that our most vulnerable neighbors have experienced, the need has gone way up.
I mean, yeah, we've seen a lot of impact. I mean, you all had to grow more than 100% almost overnight.
We quadrupled between the declaration of the disaster in March last year and June. So it was practically overnight. Our team was out straight. A 12-hour day was an easy day, and we were working 7 days a week. It was tough times, and it's frankly not that much better now.
Yeah, and that's one of the major misconceptions that has come up now, really, in my mind, is that, well, since we've got, restrictions lessening, that was one of the things that triggered many of the situations that had that quadrupling overnight. Since those are gone and the economy is looking better, things must be better and therefore it's not needed anymore. Kind of an out of sight, out of mind kind of situation for a lot of people, which is, as we mentioned when we last talked about a quarter ago, not the case. Because amongst all the other factors going on here, where there are still plenty of structural things where people are finding themselves in need, there's also been other support that has lessened as well. Many of the pandemic response programs have sunset, even though in our area, I mean, you mentioned about quadrupling. Compared to that height at the start there, where is the level of need of people who are asking for help in our region now?
Our lines are incredibly long. When I left the food bank today, it was about a mile and a half long. That's of cars. There was another standing line at the actual food bank itself. And we see this across the region. And the reason is that people just need a little extra help. What has happened pre-food bank is that people were making really difficult decisions between could they pay their rent, could they have food on their table, could they pay for medicines, could they pay for just basic human needs. And one of the things that the food bank growth has meant to this population of incredibly poor people is that they're able to stretch the limited resources they have by getting food from the food bank. So they're able to pay for gas to go to work. They're able to pay for their rent, their medicine, etc. And I think often about this. And El Paso is such a kind community. And I think that anyone here, if they knew their neighbor were hungry, they would feed them. And the reality is our neighbors are hungry.
Yeah, we're still in it was tens of thousands, and now we're, last time we talked here, over 100,000 people in a particular time period that are interacting with the food bank because of the need that still exists in our area. And again, it can be hard to see, because I think some people also have this idea of medieval peasant is what poor is, and that's not the reality in this modern world anymore because of a variety of reasons. And so weird conversations end up coming up out of that. But the major point here is that the food bank is still doing some very heavy lifting. And again, other programs such as, National Guard, troop support, and other things have sunset at this point. So there's even more need for donations and volunteers, even as you all have been trying to progress and do new things, such as opening the Mercado, the standing market, and other things over at y'all's main distribution site, right?
That's exactly right. There is a desperate need for volunteers right now, but the food bank is taking action to become more lean, more efficient, and find ways to still get the job done. And you mentioned the Mercado as one of those ways. And when we learned that the National Guard would be leaving us, we didn't learn that until August, and they were gone in September. So we were building as fast as we could to make a space outside our building where we could do a culturally appropriate Mercado, an open-air market, where people would feel comfortable coming and getting the food items that they needed to feed not only themselves, but their children and sometimes extended family members, parents, other elderly folks that just need that extra help. And it has been a godsend to us because it has taken the need for 96 National Guard members and cut that need for labor extensively. So we run it right now with probably about 10 to 12 volunteers and staff instead of 96 soldiers.
Okay, so that's an important move that has happened there. And yeah, the the incidence of multifamily generational living in our area is always prevalent. It's been one of the consternating factors throughout all of this, particularly when it comes to prevention efforts in the pandemic. So it makes sense that it would extend further to the food situation here. Again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Susan Goodell, CEO of the El Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank. If you want to find out any more about them and the work they do, you can find them at elpasoansfightinghunger.org. And so the work that you all do is important. You all still do get some federal support. There are programs that existed before this point that have continued on to a certain extent here, and that has also come with requirements that you all follow to do all of this in the right way, right?
That's correct. We're a highly regulated organization, as are food banks across this country. So we are responsible to the USDA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture, to ensure that all of their regulations are followed. And that's, not only food safety and how we handle the food, but who is entitled to get that food. So the USDA regulations say that anyone at 185% of poverty is eligible to get food that comes from the federal government. And about 30% of our food does come from the federal government. The other 70% we have to find. And sadly, El Paso is not a food producing part of the country. So the vast majority of the food comes into El Paso to the food bank on the back of a tractor trailer. So we are not only having to meet government regulations, but we have to make sure that we are doing the work that's necessary to bring in the other 70% of the food that this community needs.
And that's a very important part of all of this. And so something that we've been working on the back end and are more or less announcing here today, you may have heard it on air already, but we have established a partnership between iHeartRadio El Paso and the El Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank and launched a campaign called Buy the Box, B-U-Y, the box, and I launched a site for that, buythebox.org, which you can go to right now to focus on the giving that is happening. I mean, a lot of people are in a more generous spirit during this part of the season, and a lot of people often think that, well, I'm going to then give a canned good, either, clean up my pantry or go and get a bunch of them. And that's not bad, but there's a lot more effective ways it can be done, particularly if they're going out and buying it themselves. So something that I think people don't get is the difference in scale of how it works. You're mentioning you're bringing in tractor trailers full of food here. And once you're at that kind of a scale, the factors are very different on how you can buy it. So if people go over to buythebox.org, the donations are there. We're both, talking about for charitable giving from companies looking to give back this point of the year. But even when it comes down to the individual level, giving as little as like $14 can literally feed a kid for a month here. And that may sound like it doesn't make sense to the average person, but the work that you all can do, having been over to y'all's facility, put some videos up on that we've had on our social media as well. It's a extensive operation, and you have competencies and abilities that you or I individually could not do otherwise.
I think that's exactly right, Andrew. And I'm always fascinated by how we get food and how economical it is. So, for example, everybody makes mistakes, and that includes food manufacturers. So what happens when that box of cereal has 3 scoops of raisins in it instead of 2? Well, it often comes to our food bank. And so all that we have to pay for in that instance is the cost of shipping it from Battle Creek, Michigan, down to El Paso. And then we can get 42,000 pounds of cereal for free just for the cost of shipping. Another example is we do have a very small fleet of tractor trailers that we have out in this region picking up food every day. So we go to Nogales right now on a daily basis, and we're picking up fresh fruit and vegetables, things like watermelon and string beans and just beautiful produce right now. We can get 42,000 pounds of produce out of the port of Nogales for $300. That's the cost of the diesel for our truck and the cost of the manpower. So we are incredibly lean. We're efficient with $1, and every dollar donated is turned very quickly into the ingredients for 7 meals.
And that 1 to 7 level there, again, it may sound fantastic to a lot of people out there thinking you can never pull this off. And the simple answer is yes, you could not, because you don't have the tractor trailers, you don't have the donation capability, you don't have the requirements put onto you by the USDA, among other things. So all of these things end up contributing to the fact that giving of donations directly to the food bank here is literally the most effective, and I'm going to argue the most effective charitable efforts in town here. There are other important charitable efforts, and we talk about them a lot, but just literally dollar for dollar, pound for pound, this is the one that what I've done my personal charity work with has been with this because of the impact that it absolutely has in our area.
Thank you, Andrew. And if anyone wants to see it live in person, come on out and volunteer, and you'll very quickly see how the food bank is able to provide so much for so little.
So again, the website that we are launching here is buythebox.org, B-U-Y, thebox.org, with the idea of this holiday season, don't go out, buy canned goods to then hand over, buy the box of food that can help feed them. I mean, if you want to go even higher on the individual level, $164 will literally feed a kid for an entire year based on the competencies that you all have and the abilities that you all have and the requirements that you all have to follow in order to do it. And if anyone also will say that iHeartRadio here is working on giving back even more to those that are really wanting to partner with us in promoting this and giving back directly. So if you want to contact us, you can either find the information over there on the site, go to the El Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank, or send me an email directly if you're wanting to give a larger amount back here, because you can feed a classroom for a few $1,000s here. So those are important factors here, and something that I am very excited that we've been working on. We're able to fully launch and announce here and get people with the idea that this is a very effective way to give back here. And you all do the heavy lifting that it takes, and almost literally heavy lifting when it talks about moving this stuff. The facility out there, again, is impressive as hell because it is huge. It's basically a block, a block in length of everything, shipping, moving, storage. And even though that's that size there, it represents, I estimated it guessed right once when you told me, but how much is it actually in that storage for the need that we're currently seeing? How long would that last?
So we have a 177,000 square foot facility. And today we have about 31 days of food for this community. So if we do nothing, which we do not intend to do,
absolutely,
we run out of food in 30 to 31 days. But the food is coming in every day due to the efforts that we make to find that food somewhere here in our country or just over the border, bring it into the United States, bring it into El Paso, and make sure our community gets fed.
So just in case anyone was unclear about this is not to say that in 31 days the food bank will be out of food. It's that the current level is about that, but it's kind of the analogy that comes to my mind is a bathtub that you got to drain at one end and the faucet on at the other. So there is a fullness level, but it will keep draining unless the faucet keeps going on. And that's what these donations help keep going, because there are, again, very good ways for this to be done, but it has to be able to be done. You all have to have that funding to be able to go out and do this. So the charitable efforts, particularly during this time of year when there is some of the most need, but it always continues year round. But as most people are thinking about it right now, this is a very important time for them to think about, again, contacting y'all directly to volunteer or going to buythebox.org and looking to make the donation in their charitable efforts this year. So when they're talking about these impacts of, you mentioned about 30% comes from the USDA and the support from the federal government here, and the rest has to be made up essentially locally.
It does, and it's a big challenge for us because there is so much need here in this community. And as a very young food bank, we've only been independent for 5 years. We have not been able to build up the base of support that a 40, 50, 60-year-old food bank and other communities have been able to do. So we're working overtime to attract members of the community to come out and volunteer, to support the food bank, to make sure that we have food year-round. This is the season where we raise much of the money that we need to feed the community in 2022.
And in all of that, one thing I don't want to miss is that even though you all are relatively new and have had some relatively high demand spring up over this past couple of years, in the process of that, you all have become literally some of the biggest food banks in the country.
We are number 3 right now in the United States, and that is in terms of the amount of food that we actually distribute. So we are incredibly proud of that. And that happened literally because of our team of dedicated staff, our team of volunteers. They put in just enormous effort since the beginning of this pandemic. The hours this team has put in incredibly difficult circumstances. I would go to work and I could literally see the fear on people's face. And I didn't know if they would show up, but they did every day. Every day they came to work, despite the fear of COVID, pre-vaccinations, they came to work and they got the job done and they fed this community. And I could not be more proud of this food bank and the people who come to work each day as volunteers, as staff, to make sure our community is fed.
Absolutely. And again, that important work continues here. So if you want to find out any more information, you can either visit their site, elpasoansfightinghunger.org, or the new main donation site where you can find out all the information about the campaign that we are now launching here, buythebox.org, B-U-Y, thebox.org, as in this holiday season, don't buy the canned good, buy the box to help support those in need in our community. So again, guest right now has been Susan Goodell, CEO of the El Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank. Thank you very much for coming in, talking a little bit about what is going on, the realities behind it, the work that you all do, and the partnership that we're finally getting underway and hopefully will help feed those in need here in our community here today.
Thank you, Andrew. We really appreciate you telling our story.
Absolutely here. All right, we are due for a break right now, but coming back after the break, we will go into more of those comments and calls that we got on the line here. So that number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Given the most wonderful time of the year that we are definitely in, you don't want to miss out on a minute of the celebration, the festivities, the family gatherings, or with friends, whatever have you. But sometimes you just have your plans completely upended, particularly with those minor medical emergencies that put a stop to your day and leave you wondering, what should I do now? So the solution that I've gone to when I find myself in those situations is Upper Valley Urgent Care Center, because they are there for you nights, weekends, holidays, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days a week, regardless of what's going on. At 121 East Red Road, Dr. Carpenter and his team are there ready for you to help you figure out those day disruptors, aches, bruises, breaks, sprains, sniffles, testing, vaccines, whatever you need, from those minor medical treatments all the way up to x-ray capabilities. They're ready with you with fast and friendly 5-star medical service and 20-plus exam rooms. They are also a VA certified urgent care provider, so find them 121 East Red Road, Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Justin Cree with your CBS 4 News Update. Human remains that were decomposed have been found inside of a vehicle at a towing yard in Chaparral, New Mexico. It turns out that they had been sitting there inside the car for more than 2 weeks. The Otero County Sheriff's Office had confirmed that human remains were found yesterday inside of a car at the JBS towing yard. Back on November 22nd, police were sent to a call at a trailer park down the road from where the body was found. This same trailer park, someone told police that they spotted a body in the back of a vehicle at that trailer park. Police left without finding anything. We do not know what kind of access that they had to the property to get a closer look inside the vehicle. 16 days later, police made their discovery. The investigation is ongoing. Anyone with information is asked to call the Otero County Sheriff's Office. The Texas Workforce Commission is reminding employees about one of Governor Greg Abbott's executive orders in a statement that an employer cannot impose a COVID-19 vaccine mandate to its employees who qualify for an exemption. In a written statement, the governor says the state has created a hotline for employees to report illegal vaccine mandates in Texas. He goes on to say that vaccines should always be voluntary and never forced. With your CBS 4 News Update, I'm Justin Cree.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Checking El Paso traffic this hour, Gateway Boulevard west of Airway at Buffalo Soldier. There's an accident reported there. Fire is on the scene. Zaragoza at Rojas, an accident reported there. And actually, I'm starting to see a small backup on Zaragoza northbound. I got reports of an accident Edgemere Boulevard at Joe Battle. And I-10 westbound at Trowbridge. That accident from earlier is cleared. All lanes are open.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. It's been another warm day, just like yesterday, and that was expected because our real change will not arrive until tonight. Very late tonight and through the overnight hours is when we start seeing our winds on the increase as well as our rain chances. Most of us will sleep right through this, but we could see some lingering rain for early morning commuters before our system moves out, but get ready for much colder air and a windy end to our work week.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Hitting speed bumps in your hiring process? Streamline your route to hired with Indeed. Their hiring platform makes it easy to attract, screen, and interview candidates all in the same place. Find your next great hired and visit Indeed.com/credit.
Hi, Phil Swift here for the Flex Seal family of products. You know, there's a lot of ways to protect your home. You could dig a moat. You could bubble wrap it. Or you could train a pack of wolves to protect it. But the best way is with the Flex Seal family of products. So when you need to patch, bond, seal, repair, and stop leaks fast, get the Flex Seal family of products. Available at FlexSealProducts.com and fine retailers.
Talk El Paso, airing weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, focused on local businesses, local politics, local impacts of the day's news. Brought to you in part by Thrive 915 Food Fest. Join the conversation Monday through Friday at 4, and let's talk El Paso.
Hey parents, good news! Kids ages 5 to 11 are eligible for a COVID vaccine. Your future CEOs, artists, innovators, and more are eligible for a vaccine that can help protect their future. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. This report is paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Do flowers have best friends?
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. Your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social pages that we're on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, Twitter @Talk El Paso, YouTube, the Talk El Paso channel, and Twitch, Andrew J. Polk. Either of those names, any of those places, you'll probably find us, because getting the conversation out there, getting people involved in it, well, that's just how things are supposed to work now, isn't it? But we have that conversation about the things that affect us here in the borderland, and we do have those phone lines open now, as we do usually at this point through the end of the show. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Previous segment was definitely something very important to me, both personally and professionally. You make it that partnership with El Pasoans Fighting Hunger. So it might not be our usual kind of fare, but, I mean, particularly during this season, my thoughts turn to that kind of thing. So very happy to be working with them on this. So, but we got plenty of other stuff that we mentioned at the top of the show. And don't forget, Friday is coming. We will be doing our free-for-all show tomorrow. So the pressure relief valve is there. But in the meantime, let's get to those calls on the line right now. We do have Ben on the east side on the line with us. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you, Andrew. One of the things I mean, it was kind of interesting, the two interviews you had yesterday and today. Very important. One is that you know, one of the things I've always been told all my life is that charity begins at home. We've got a lot of people in our neighborhood, good, hard-working people that are having problems finding a job, having problems feeding their families, having problems heating their homes, you know, getting to work because the gasoline costs so much. All these things, you know, in our neighborhood, and our neighbors are suffering from, and everything. And so, you know, to give to these people, I have no problem at all. The one thing I do have problems with is taking care of everybody else in the world. We can't even take care of ourselves at this point. We need to, you know, turn more towards helping people in our own country, and let the people, you know, change in their countries. I mean, if they can, you know, but we can't save the rest of the world. And one thing I've always thought about when I was working and everything, I'm retired now, but one thing I always said, I hated my government for taking away the one thing that really that I felt very proud of myself all my life, is the charitable acts that I've made, and because what they did was I always, every time I paid my taxes and everything, I knew that those taxes were going to things that I didn't have any desire for them to go to and everything, but they went there anyway. And so they took away my charitable feelings, and that just destroyed me. And let's take care of our own. The money that we could get from not taking in all these refugees from other countries and everything. We could have money for better schools, not public schools. Let's get away from public schools. We know they're a disaster. Let's get away. Let's go to schools that really make a difference in lives and everything. There's so much we could do with the money that they waste taking care of the people from other countries.
Interesting point you make there. I didn't really consider the juxtaposition of these past couple of days of interviews, but I mean, both important subjects in their own right here. And I mean, we've had other people who have called up and said, you know what, we need to do charity in this particular way. I'm not going to tell anyone who is charitable minded and has efforts that they want to go for and support that they're going to be wrong in doing that. Frankly, particularly during this season when we're all thinking about giving back, whatever you've got in mind, just please do it. That's the main thing. Just kind of like voting. Whatever you're going to go vote, go out and vote, go out and do the charity, just do it, because that's I meant to. That is just so useless. So please, I mean, if you want to support them here, do the things that you find important to yourself. And yeah, I just hope you can find that charitable spirit too, despite the impact of taxes there, which not very jolly, no matter how you slice it. I'll agree with you there. So thank you for that point and that call here. We'll squeeze in one more here. This segment, again, that number to call 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Andrew on the west side on the line with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you just fine.
Okay, very well. Not only Paso Fighting Hunger is having these long lines. If you go down Montana on any day of the week except Sunday and Monday and Saturday, you'll notice that the Kelly Food Bank from Florence to Brown has very, very lengthy lines, and I'm sure they're feeling the pinch also. Also, I wanted to, expand on what your previous caller says. Yes, we do need to look after our people, and I think these nations where these immigrants are coming from, they need to address the problem, too, in their country, because I'm sure that their representatives in the United Nations are laughing at us. Now, one other point I wanted to make that your caller from the Northeast has made about 2 days ago, he said that nobody wants to defund the police, only divert funds. That could not be more false. There's a bill that was sponsored by Rashida Tlaib called the Breathe Act, and that proposed closing federal prisons over the next 10 years. And then you have Ilhan Omar, who has not only called for the dismantling of the police completely, but abolishing ICE. And one last thing I wanted to say, hey, I'm still willing to debate Raul, and that invitation also goes out to Frankie from Mesilla. As long as people don't bloviate, I think we can engage in conversation and agree to disagree agreeably. Anyway, thank you very much for allowing me on the air.
Oh, sure thing. Thank you for the points in the call there. I mean, we deal with a lot of issues here. All I'm going to say at this moment is that we'll probably look at that. We're getting pretty close to the holiday season here. Don't know if we'll be able to plan anything concretely. That there are new announcements that are going to be coming before too long, including things like this partnership with the El Pasoans Fighting Hunger Food Bank. So stay tuned for more on that is what I'm going to decide to say at this moment here. Otherwise, due for that next break right now, we're going to come back and get to more of the comments and calls on the line here. That number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. For the comments, including with John Brazelton, Leroy Chuck, A.W. Hill, and more. All that back after the break. More here on News Radio 690, KTSM. It may be getting close to the end of the year with all the celebrations, holidays, gatherings, good cheer that usually happens. You don't want to miss a minute of it now or in the future, and that's why El Paso's own Therapeutics and Thermography, Inc., which you can find at 935 Sunland Park Drive inside Biometrics, is offering you a better chance to get involved with the technology back in town that can help you have a deeper understanding of what literally lies beneath the surface. Thermography is the term, and the technology is essentially a heat map for your body, and that is why, for all these reasons, they are extending their $50 off all breast thermogram benefit through the end of the year. So you still got your chance before we hit 2022 to try this for yourself, use it as another tool in your toolbox, weapon in your arsenal of tracking, monitoring, being on top of your health, and understanding what's going on and taking the appropriate action needed from there on. So you can give them a call and claim your $50 off benefit by calling 915-401-4053. That's 915-401-4053. Or find them online at elpasothermography.com. That's El Paso, THERMOGRAPHY.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Reports of an accident on the 10 Gateway westbound, west of Airway at Buffalo Soldier. That's real close to the other earlier accident, Gateway at Trowbridge, which has cleared, all lanes open there. But there's a big backup on the 10 Gateway westbound from Paisano all the way to Hawkins. Another accident reported, Zaragoza at Rojas, seeing some small backup there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Take the shortcut to your next great hire. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, Instant Match immediately delivers a list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Whitechapel here, serial entrepreneur with words from another happy payroll customer.
I've used it for a year now, and I've worried 0 time. I just enter in the time, it's calculated, and it's taken out a bank account, and it's just done. I love it.
Visit us at PatriotSoftware.com. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of payroll free. That's PatriotSoftware.com.
Accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Radio advertising can connect your business with holiday shoppers wherever they go. Use iHeart Ad Builder to create an affordable custom radio ad right on your phone. Just click, listen, approve, then hear it on the radio. Create your customized ad today at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
We've lost so many people to COVID. So many moms and dads, favorite uncles, older sisters, and best friends. But vaccines can help prevent serious illness and death from COVID in more than 9 out of 10 cases. So now almost all COVID deaths are preventable, and so are the broken hearts they leave behind. We can do this. Find COVID vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. That's vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. There's no place like home for the holidays, except when you're stuck sleeping on the pull-out couch in the basement. This year, I'm resting my head at Red Roof in my own comfortable, affordable, and clean space. You know, you can save up to 20% this holiday season at Red Roof locations. Plus, pets stay free at Red Roof, so Fluffy can come along for the holiday fun. This holiday season, book your own space at redroof.com and save up to 20%.
Hey parents, good news! Kids ages 5 to 11 are eligible for a COVID vaccine. Your future CEOs, artists, innovators, and more are eligible for a vaccine that can help protect their future. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Monterey Asset Management, superior multifamily property management services citywide.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A bunch of stuff we're talking about here today. A bunch of ways to interact with the show. We're here in this last segment, but don't forget, we will have then Friday coming up tomorrow, Free for All Friday, with comments and calls throughout the hour on any subject, standards, particularly those FCC ones. do still apply, but we'll have the conversation. We talked about a lot of big issues this week. There's been a whole lot more that is usually beyond our standard focus, but I know y'all want to talk about. We'll take those all on tomorrow here. Also want to mention Talk El Paso, brought to you in part by Monterey Asset Management. If you're tired of the ups and downs of the stock market, consider investing in real estate. Monterey manages apartments in El Paso and helps investors buy, hold, and sell property. Check out their new website, m1ep.com. That's m1ep.com. To learn more about the many benefits and long-term appreciation of investing in real estate, call Certified Property Manager Ray at 915-592-4549. It's 915-592-4549. Also brought to you in part by Thrive 915 Food Fest here in town. They have these sets of business mixers that I've been going to that are a great way to meet, interact, and find out some of the guests we've had on the show have come out of that. I'll be perfectly honest with you, because of the interesting stories, the situations you fall into, and it's a way to keep kind of, at least for me, a pulse on what's going on with some of the small businesses in town, but also a lot of synergy has come out of it. Some more of these partnerships that we're going to have coming up with you that have come out of these and more meetings. It is an exciting time for businesses here in town. Even if we're dealing with some tough situations, there is still opportunity. So Thrive 915 Food Fest on Facebook, but also the Texas restaurants and food trucks here. So calls on the line here. Got a quick pound 250 call as well that we have. That's another way you can leave comments, particularly after our show or just ahead of the next one, by dialing pound 250, saying keyword Talk El Paso, and leaving a message like this.
This is Messiah Frankie. I couldn't stop laughing last night with your exchange with Raul. Raul, you asked Raul, hey, is there any sort of accommodation, supposedly if they were going to have a debate with the Donnie Dotard and bewildered Barbara and then Raul. But anyway, you asked Raul, was there any way, any kind of accommodation that you could make relative to the Donnie Dotard, the fellow with the stupid-looking yellow thing on top of his head? Without a hesitation, Raul comes back and says no. I mean, he was faster coming back with that response than it would be a quark in a bell jar. Unbelievable. I couldn't stop laughing. And so why shouldn't he not be able to say, no, there's no accommodation? What kind of accommodation would you make with somebody like Stalin or Hitler or any other horrible person in the world? By golly, Raul would go. And guess what? Raul would win hands down with a debate with bewildered Barber. Guarantee you that.
So I do think there's a little bit of confusion there. Again, you can leave your own message, pound 250, keyword Talk El Paso. A little bit of confusion about what we were talking about with that yesterday. I more specifically asked, is there any kind of action to be taken by the former president within the realm of imagination, any at all, that could potentially change the mind? And that answer was no. It's also maybe getting a little bit conflated there with the idea people keep bringing up of having some kind of in-person meeting, a chance to meet, greet, and more likely than not debate, as this group seems more often than not to do. But in any case, here on the line right now, we do have Raul in the Northeast with us. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Well, the sad news is that El Paso is experiencing a surge in COVID cases among the unvaccinated, and a surge in the number of cases requiring hospitalization. And sadly, all our school districts have seen COVID cases increase compared to last winter. There are more pediatric cases now than there was last year in 2020. And in fact, the number of new cases during the last week grew over 80% compared to the previous 3 weeks. And there's particularly a sharp increase in pediatric cases, which accounted for over 30% of all those new cases. And that's according to El Paso Public Health Authority's Dr. Ocaranza, who recently said at a news conference that a large percentage of the new COVID cases reported in El Paso were among children. Tragically, students are getting the virus to school because of goofy Governor Abbott and Costello prohibiting the mandating of all public school employees getting vaccinated, tested, or wear masks in school. Goofy Governor Greg is getting people, students, teachers, and school personnel sick, and some have been dying, and some will die because of his fatally flawed decisions. Now, as far as Barbara the Trumper, she said that all I do is attack the character of anybody who doesn't hold the same opinion as mine, and that I attack Trump supporters and the Trump presidency. You know, Barbara, why do you ignore the fact that your love, Donald Trump, has a long history of attacking people who disagree with him or criticize him or report on him?
So you're literally doing the same thing then? Like, for all the talk that you have about this, and given the talk that was just brought up about the potential debate there, I am sure that you would relish the opportunity to say any and all of this in person to the former president here. But, I mean, it sounds like you're saying that, therefore, you agree with those tactics. Not going to lie.
Well, look, political correctness and standards and norms went out the window when the GOP made a depraved, degenerate pig who bragged about serially, sexually attacking women as their presidential candidate.
And again, I'm just saying, for all the talk that you do about it, you do seem to like the tactics that you're somewhat railing against here. All right, we got time for one more quick one on the line here. We do have Tony on the west side with us. Tony, we got about 30 seconds.
Oh, man, 30 seconds. I won't be able to do it all, but I'll try.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to reconcile the different views on charity. Number one, Peter Singer from Yale. The worst thing you can do to a starving nation is give it food because it multiplies the suffering 15 years later. Number two, professor from Princeton, Roy Beck, B-E-C-K, who has a video on YouTube that'll show that it'll sink the ship if we try to help everyone who wants to come to this country. Third world view from Ann that wants open borders and wants to help those hurting people that were on yesterday. And the Christian view real quick. Jesus says God says if people who are called by my name would turn their face and repent and seek after me, I will heal their land and help them. The solution, my friends, and especially the first caller, Ben, who said we've got to take care of our own. If you're Christian, your own is your brothers and sisters who are Christian. That's who is your own, not necessarily American citizens, but those who have accepted Christ as Lord and Savior. That's the biblical view. You guys claim to be Christian. Follow it. Read your Bible. Thank you very much.
Sure thing. I mean, I think there's a difference, and I'll agree with you, General, that, I mean, there are certain programs out there that I don't donate to, whether it's just giving out stuff. There's a difference between a handout and a hand up, and that's why I think we'll have to leave it here for today, because we are out of time. Thank you to everyone who did call in, comment, participate in the show here today. We'll do it again tomorrow, 4 to 5 p.m. Again, Free for All Friday coming up here. So anyone didn't able to get through, we will have your chance tomorrow. So stay tuned, stay safe out there. Look towards your motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. See you tomorrow. Back with another Medicare moment, we have Eric with Advocate Health Advisors. If a veteran has original Medicare only, why would they want a Medicare Advantage plan?
Well, firstly, any Medicare Advantage plan is required to have everything that original Medicare offers. Additional benefits are offered throughout most plans, including, but not limited to, things like dental, hearing, transportation, gym memberships, and over-the-counter benefits, just to name a few. Now, additionally, with original Medicare, there's no cap on the 20% of the bill that veteran would be responsible for. Every Advantage plan comes with a maximum out-of-pocket, after which the plan picks up 100% of the cost for that veteran.
For more detail on this and info on that, you can call Eric, your local advisor, wherever you're hearing this broadcast, at 1-800-876-0214. That's 1-800-876-0214.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Reports of an accident on the 10 Gateway westbound, west of Airway at Buffalo Soldier. That's real close to the other earlier accident, Gateway at Trowbridge, which has cleared, all lanes open there. But there's a big backup on the 10 Gateway westbound from Paisano all the way to Hawkins. Another accident reported, Zaragoza at Rojas, seeing some small backup there. Harry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio. News on the hour and KTSM. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Jussie Smallett has been found guilty of staging his own racist and homophobic attack in Chicago. The former Empire actor, who is black and gay, claimed he was attacked in January of 2019 by two men yelling racist and anti-gay remarks, wearing MAGA hats. He faces up to 3 years in prison. Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the White House is closely watching Russian troop movements on the border with Ukraine after President Biden's warning to Russian President Vladimir Putin this week.
At this point, obviously, you would know if they have made the decision to invade. They have not.
But again, it's the ball is in his court.
Biden threatened severe economic consequences if Russia moves against Ukraine. A scary afternoon for police in Oklahoma City after a bomb threat came into the downtown IRS headquarters. The all clear has since been ordered and the streets are now reopening. FBI and Oklahoma City Police Department officers investigated the building and determined there was no threat. A federal appeals court is rejecting ex-President Trump's attempt to block the release of documents related to the January 6th attack on the Capitol. The House committee investigating the attack has subpoenaed the records from the archives of Trump's White House. Trump has claimed executive privilege, but the court rejected the plea. Simone Biles is Time's Athlete of the Year.
The magazine praised the famous gymnast for pulling herself out of 5 Summer Olympic events after suffering from the twisties. The 24-year-old was also lauded for testifying in the U.S. Senate about sexual abuse by former team doctor Larry Nassar. Biles tells Time she's not focusing on the what-ifs and thinks she made the right decision. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Workers at a Starbucks location in Buffalo, New York are voting to unionize. The vote is a first for the coffee powerhouse. Another location in Buffalo narrowly rejected forming a union.